Good afternoon, everyone. It's 3:11, and we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. First, before I get to the real agenda, I have to say hi to our new harbor master. Elise, it's a real pleasure to have you as the harbor master. God bless you and good luck, and I think you're going to do great things for our harbor and our city. So let's take a look at the minutes from the May 12th meeting. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the meeting? Okay.
You need to approve the agenda first, JJ.
Okay, well, do I have to read it?
Actually, you have to do roll call first, just
I have
kidding.
to do roll call?
Yes.
Okay, let's do roll call. Byron Scooby is not here. He's on a train. I am here. Gabe?
Here.
Louis?
Here.
Grant?
Here.
We're all here. And Barbara is here. She's always here. So, how do we approve the agenda? Do I need a motion to approve the agenda? Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Very good.
Seconded.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. Okay, let's jump on to the second item on there, which is the Marina Advisor, the minutes of the the May 12th, 2025 Marina Advisory Commission meeting. Has anybody had an opportunity to look at all those minutes? Does anybody have any comments about them other than me? Well, I have a couple. I made a couple notes after reading. I was not here at that meeting, so I made a couple of notes on the minutes. The first one was the new fireboat grant. Am I missing something?
We were just confirming that we do have a quorum with the student rep.
No, we don't have a student rep, it's Louis, JJ, and Gabe.
Yeah, we need 4.
No, because we only have 4 film sponsors.
Oh, it's a quorum that does not include the vacancies. Oh, interesting. Okay, then we are good.
Okay, I thought we did that earlier. Did we do that? We did that before 3 o'clock. I know that. Okay, let's go back to the minutes. I had some comments on the minutes about this fire rescue boat that you're supposed to be getting, Elise. The oil spill and hazmat equipment grant to fund a new marina boat. I have no questions about that, but I do have a question about the fact that you said the old boat will be given back to the Clean Vessel Act. Why are we doing that?
Because at this time, we do not meet what the contract requires, and to my knowledge, we are not in a contract with them.
With the Clean Vessel people, or the Clean Waters Act? Is that what we're talking about, the people who gave us the grant for that boat?
It's going back to the same people that gave us the grant.
So that raises the second question, is why aren't we doing that? And this was something I wanted to bring up a little bit later, and we can probably defer it to a little bit later about pump outs, because I know there's pump outs is on the discussion. But we were given a grant for that boat, and we were given a grant for the pump out equipment. And we had a skeleton idea of how to do pump outs a couple of years ago, and it was abruptly canceled. So I'd like to revisit that. Have you given back the boat yet?
No.
Okay, I want to bring that up if we can during pump outs.
Okay.
I think I'll hold the rest of my comments or my questions for later. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 12th meeting?
I'll move to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, let's moving right along. Public comments. Do we have any members of the public here other than Mr. Bobick? John Q. Public, do you have any comments for this? Okay. All right, is there any online comments? Do we have any? Okay, so we'll move right along to the discussion and action and presentations. Who's going to introduce the harbor master? Brian?
Well, as you already stated, yes, from a well-qualified candidate pool, Elise Henry was selected as the new harbor master. We're very proud and happy to have Elise fulfill this role after being in the Assistant Harbor Master position. She's been with the city,
7 years.
what, 7 years now? Yep. The Assistant Harbor Master position has been posted, and so we will be for a week now. I think we have one more week, and then we'll be conducting interviews for that, and just want to congratulate Elise, and glad to have her on.
I'll be happy to second that. I've watched Elise since she's been here. The city, Brian, you guys made a great choice. I'm very proud to have her as the harbor master. I think she'll do wonderful, wonderful things for us. Okay, let's move right along. Pump out discussion. Is this you, Elise?
Sounds like it. Let's go.
Okay. I guess I didn't realize that this was going to be on here, but
We had tabled it because it was on last month's, and you
Okay.
were not here last month, and I knew you wanted to have the discussion, so I wanted to make sure you could be a part of it.
I did a little research, and we are the only, and I can't say that definitively because Brownsville does not have, the Marina at Brownsville does not offer any mobile pump outs in any way, shape, or form. But every other marina that I surveyed either has a marina contract or a individual or a contractor doing pump outs at their boats. I know we did it for a very brief period of time, and it was scheduled on a Tuesday, I believe. Was that when it was? It was
It was either Thursday or Wednesday.
Wednesday. Oh, I missed by a whole 2 days, but it was one of those 2 days where you could sign up and the marina staff would use the boat and the pump out that they were given a grant for to pump out your holding tanks. Can we revisit this? Is this something that the marina can do? I think we're staffed in order to do it.
We can revisit it, yes. I can tell you the contract has drastically changed from when we received the boat to the contract we would sign today. So the contract originally was a one-page, one-year commitment. It is now a 20-page, 5-year commitment. And I know the city is not real keen on signing contracts for more than a year at a time. Just FYI.
I would also include in that, that the maintenance requirements on staff and their bandwidth have also led to us having less and less capacity to do those kind of on-demand services. So that's something that we'll have to really evaluate whether that's even doable with our current configuration or not.
Yeah, I would hope that it wouldn't be an on-demand type situation. I would hope that it would be a regularly scheduled thing that, you called in on a Monday or a Tuesday before a certain time for a pump out either Wednesday or Thursday, whatever worked for the staff.
That program is also designed for transient boaters. It's not really designed for tenants or liveaboards. Just FYI. And that was part of the new contract, laid that out a little more in black and white, where it was kind of a gray area previously.
Yeah, the only way I've been, I've always been a transient at other marinas, and I've asked for a pump out, and they say, well, the marina does it, or you can contract with this guy, and he will get it done. So
We did try having a contractor, just so you know.
Oh,
And
I remember
I was
that.
gonna say, and they only ran for about 2 months because they could not make ends meet with the demand of the pump outs in the marina.
Right.
So
That's
just
what I'm
keep that
saying.
in mind as well.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it would be a huge commitment. I think and it leads to my follow-on about where our current pump out is at the fuel dock. I know we've had a very brief discussion about this, that I don't believe that we're serving the marina tenants very well, having our only pump out at the fuel dock when you only have space for 2 boats on the fuel dock. So I asked the harbor master if she would look at the feasibility of moving the pump out from its current location to somewhere along the service dock. Maybe give up one of the parking spaces, of the moorage spots on the service dock, and put our pump out there. which would ease the congestion at the fuel dock, make it a whole lot easier for staff when they see a boat at the fuel dock, knowing that that boat actually does need fuel and is not just there to be pumped out. So I would hope we can look at that, Elise, and see if that's feasible, and let's just really flesh out the idea and see if it works.
I'll be happy to look into it and look at the logistics of moving someone from the service dock, because currently all 6 of the permanent places that are down there are taken, and I think 4 out of the 6 are annual contracts as well,
Okay,
so.
okay, that's good. All right, does anybody have anything to add about the pump out? Am I missing something here? No? Gabe? Okay. Okay, let's move right along. The breakwater update.
So we did have Moffett Nickel come with a couple of engineers, and they did quite a bit of testing on the breakwater to figure out if any of the damage was new from when they had surveyed it a few years ago, and how bad any of the previous damage had progressed. Without a coastal analysis, all of our bright ideas of how we can possibly reconfigure, reduce weight, reduce maintenance to that project, no one can have a definite answer without that coastal analysis piece, which is something that had never been done. So we are working with Moffett Nichols. I was told that we should have a preliminary update on that, and Bill can pipe in if I'm wrong, before the B&O tax vote on August 6th, so that there wouldn't be any confusion at council how much repairs should cost for whichever option we choose. Because we've talked about reducing those patios by 1 cement float. So instead of them being 2 cement floats deep, they would only be 1, which eliminates 25% of the panels and a lot of weight on those. We talked about reducing the wall height. Instead of having them 4 feet tall, do they need to be there at all? Do they need to be 1 foot, 2 foot? And the big thing about the wall height is it is reducing the waves that can crash over onto FDOC. But we all know when we get 30-mile-an-hour winds out of the west, the waves are still crashing over FDOC. Then they talked about possibly removing 25% of the patios in general, just to see. But that sawtooth configuration is not something very common, and no one has definite answers, like I said, without that coastal analysis. Oh, the other option was to reduce the picket length under the water. So they currently go down about 6 feet below the water line. Could we reduce that to 4 feet, or, 3 feet for that matter? And they don't really know how that's going to affect wave attenuation without doing this additional survey.
Anything Bill wants to add to that?
Bill, did I miss anything, or do you want to add anything?
No, you actually did a fantastic job, and I will say that right before the meeting started, I haven't even had a chance to open it yet. Looks like it's the preliminary cost to do a coastal study, wave determination, transmission wave attenuation analysis. You hit the nail on the head a little bit with this waveguard sawtooth configuration. It's not typical, and it's not something that's easily just by back of the envelope methods to determine what the attenuation effect of that sawtooth configuration is, and how much you'd reduce your attenuation by removing 1 patio versus how much you'd reduce your attenuation by reducing the depth of the panels by 1 foot or 2 feet. We're fully capable of looking at all that. I just need to get you a updated fee to do that. That is really looking at being budget conscious and optimizing what we're doing, as opposed to creating a science project. And so hopefully I'll go through this, have some conversations with the engineers tomorrow, and give you a call probably Wednesday. Elise, I'll be up at PNWA, but I'll give you a call Wednesday.
Sounds good to me, Bill.
Oh, and then the one other thing I will throw in there, and it was regrettable because we went out and did in-depth inspection, dive inspection, and then, the following week, 2 weeks later, we had astronomically low multi-year event type water levels and sustained additional damage strictly due to the astronomically low water that regretfully we did not pick up in our dive inspection. But Elise took a lot of really, really good photos that are being wrapped into our work. And thank you for those.
How much additional damage has been revealed? When you're talking -4 and you can see a lot of it, without being a diver, what did we find down there?
So part of what they found that was confirmed on that -4 is the north end, or patios, what they call 1 through 8, were only 1.5 or 1.6 feet above the surface. So when we hit that -4, they were out of the water 2.5 feet. And you could see the marine growth and the angle on the patios, which may not present damage today, but is warping on those rods, and that is going to cause damage in the future. We have a few additional patio walls, and they call 1 and 8 patio walls are the ones along the walkway. Those seem to be the ones that receive the most damage. Part of that is because of how that sawtooth configuration works, all the reverberation of the waves coming in. There's a lot more velocity, I guess, hitting 1 and 8, so they sustain more damage just doing their job on top of grounding out. South F, we did not see any additional damage. It was the same, what I would consider problem children that we had had from previous minus tides. Right. We do have another set of -3.8, -3.6, and a -3.5 at the end of the month.
Right.
We have invited city administration and the city council to come down so that they can see firsthand what the marina looks like. So we'll see from there. But
That is the 23rd, 24th, and 25th, is that what it is?
let me look at my calendar so I don't lie to you. I know it's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Okay.
And once we get confirmation if they're coming, I will make sure to invite all of you as well.
Elise, is that in June?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is a problem because we are all out of town. We are at an AWC conference at that time. So I'm not sure, Brian, you'll be home. And we might have a couple of council members, but the mayor, as far as I know, there's a bunch of us, we're gone. We're gone, so we won't be available, so.
Yeah, and we'll highlight some of the issues during the department report on the 17th as well. And we'll document it and share that with council, anyone that can't be there.
I guess it leads to another question is, I mean, is this thing serviceable? Is it going to fall into the ocean? I mean, is the breakwater,
Like tomorrow?
is it going to collapse the next time we get a 30-knot westerly?
Not an engineer, I'm gonna say no. She handles, even in her frail state. We just had a 30-mile-an-hour wind event not even 2 weeks ago, right around the same time we had those extreme low tides. And like I said, we really didn't see any additional damage that we had not seen previously.
And the following question, is it repairable? Or does it have to be removed and replaced with a different design?
That's part of what this coastal analysis, that's why Bill wants to get budget to me, just to make sure that we have the money in the bank and that it is a good use of our funds. if we move forward with trying to figure out, yes, this will work, or this is just not going to work. It's not going to matter how you reconfigure this. You need to just you need to plan to go new.
Got it. Okay. Does anybody have any comments, questions? Wow, quiet group today. So we'll go ahead and, is there anything else, Elise, about the breakwater?
I do not have any additional, I don't know that Bill does, but
We still, and we'll know this sometime this week about the cost of the coastal analysis.
sounded like he should call me on Wednesday.
Okay. Okay, all right. Let's move right along. Let's get into fuel pricing. Go ahead, Alicia, I guess you're up again.
Okay. So fuel pricing, I had Stephanie run all of our fuel sales for 2024. Had her figure out where the fuel discounts were used. And you got a copy of how we calculate fuel pricing when we receive a load of fuel. If you notice, all of the customer names that have a block beside them, it was blue highlighted, but when it was printed out, didn't come through on some of them. Those are all Marina tenants. And then in green, it shows you the 20-cent discount, so that would be a guest coming in to use the Marina.
Okay,
So as you can see, a large portion of our fuel sales are actually to our own people. And you guys had mentioned raising the rates, which I think would be another hit to Marina tenants. If you raise fuel prices and mortgage goes up October 1 like it's scheduled, per that rate increase that was put in 2 years ago. So just keep that in mind. We wanted to point out when we saw how few people used the discount that the main fuel user was actually Marina tenants. And I did go on Port of Edmonds, Port of Everett, Port of Anacortes, and the Connors website today to get their fuel prices as well. We are below everyone on diesel. Port of Edmonds is $5.04 a gallon. Port of Everett is $4.51 a gallon. Port of Anacortes is $4.62 per gallon, and La Conner is $4.25 per gallon. Now, our gasoline is a little higher than everyone else, but we also have mid-grade non-ethanol. Everyone else is doing 87 octane, so they're doing a lower grade non-ethanol. But Port of Edmonds was $5.18 for their gasoline. Port of Everett was $5.06 for their gasoline. Port of Anacortes was $5.53, and the Conner was $5.53. Currently, the Marina is setting at $5.37 a gallon for gasoline and $4.18 for diesel.
I think everyone loves cheap gas. Like, that's like a pretty popular thing, but I think if we have the cheapest mortgage and the cheapest gas and everything's really cheap and it's really easy and there's open spots, like, that's how we end up with a Marina that we can't sustain. And so even though it obviously directly negatively impacts us as Marina tenants, I think we shouldn't have cheaper gas than everywhere else. That's my opinion.
And I think when you look at those prices too, there's also, economies of scale that we don't have.
This is an argument we have every couple of years when it comes to talking about diesel and fuel pricing in general. The intent has always been to provide a cheaper fuel price to encourage people to come here. Because there's no other reason to come here other than, it's out of the way. If you're from Seattle and you're going to the San Juans, you're going to bypass us. You're going to go, or if you're on your way home, you're going to bypass us unless there's a reason to come here. Fuel pricing used to be very, very simple. We can go over the model here in a bit, but we have to have something to attract people, and this ties into what you heard at the Anacortes Boat Show, I'm assuming. But just to raise our fuel prices arbitrarily because you don't think we're, that's not really an attractive thing to do. You can't be the cheapest fuel price and the cheapest mortgage. We don't have, out of all these marinas we've been compared to, the one we most closely resemble and have never been compared to is Brownsville. That's the one. Brownsville is just like us. It has no upland activities. It has no pump out. It has 10 or 12 liveaboards. And it's not like La Conner or Anacortes or Everett, which are marinas that are thriving and have lots of services available to them. We have a great marina in the fact that we have a very dedicated staff, and we have a city that's hopefully committed to the marina, and it's a lovely place to keep your boat, but it doesn't attract people from anywhere else. Maybe fuel prices, if we raise fuel prices to be competitive with everybody else, we'll sell so much less fuel that it won't make sense to hire someone to run the fuel dock during the summer. It's my comment. Anyone else? Thanks.
I mean, I would add to that, as a not boat person, but, it seems, after going to the boat show, one of the things we don't have is enough big slips. And if we're going to talk reconfiguration and really trying to breathe new life into the marina, big slips with an inexpensive fuel would be a major draw to fill spots that would drive revenue.
So part of the mitigation packet for the dredge has reconfiguration of some of our smaller slips. It would be the west side of B dock. The fingers would be removed and it would become linear. And then the east side of D dock, the same thing would happen, where you would remove all of those fingers and make that a nice linear tie, where we could accommodate larger boats, because those fairways are large enough. We could get 40 footers, no problem, on those side ties, or even larger, for that matter.
But I think one of the concerns that we had when we brought it up last meeting was, are we accounting for the labor costs? And I didn't see that in the numbers here. I just saw kind of our tax lines, and then we wanted to make sure, hey, are we actually generating a profit from fuel, or are we losing money? And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you were here, Gabe.
Yeah, and I would bring up, there was the cost to repair the fuel line, correct? And how much was that?
Off the top of my head, since I was not in this position at that time, I want to say that was about $75,000 to $80,000.
Right, and what I don't see clearly here in what you were just talking about is what the actual profit margin is. Looking at the calculator, we have a list of taxes and fees, and we have the cost per gallon, and then we have the pump price. Is the difference between the cost per gallon and the pump price the profit, quote unquote, that the marina sees on fuel? Or is that,
Yes.
are there other costs in there?
I believe so. I will be honest, this calculator was put in place, again, before I took over this position. It was put in place with the mindset of the markup that we do put on the fuel. Because we get it so cheap being on state contract price, we do mark it up. I want to say it's 60 cents a gallon, but I would have to look at budget numbers before I could confirm that.
And then just generally, do you see, when people are transient and they're getting gas, are they also staying overnight at the marina, or are people getting gas and then continuing on?
It varies. This
Okay.
time of year, we're seeing a lot more people come in, get fuel, and stay. Because as JJ mentioned, they're coming up from Seattle. We're a great halfway point to fill up and then keep heading north. In the shoulder seasons, it could be people preparing to cruise, and they're just coming to fill up and then going back to their home port. And in the winter, we don't tend to see huge fuel sales unless it's our commercial crabbers for the for the most part.
I can add a little history to how the fuel pricing calculation came about. because I've been around long enough to remember that in the older days, we knew what we paid for the fuel. We used to add 35 cents a gallon to it and call it good. Somewhere that 35 cents became 45 cents, and then most recently that 45 cents became 60 cents. And so, and at that point, knowing full well that we do not have a full-time attendant at the fuel dock, so it's always been hard to calculate the amount of man hours that are spent on the fuel dock itself. So,
And
That's it.
without some sort of like login clock, I'm not sure how feasible, and that becomes more staff time trying to get you a number to figure out who's down there and how long.
right.
Just
And I
FYI.
think it's kind of one of those things that an educated guess. Like, hey, I spend 5 hours a week. You know.
Yeah, it's there's an awful lot of transit time, if there's, if they're working on a project out on F dock and two boats show up at the fuel dock, there's that whole entire time that they're getting from F dock out to the fuel dock, which is a long way. And if you're doing it multiple times a day, it certainly adds up. And we've actually even looked at this, maybe even before your time, Elise, is hiring somebody specifically to work the fuel dock. No other, during the summer, but no other marina duties other than to be the fuel dock attendant. You can quantify that very easily because that's his only job, and his time can be built into the price of the fuel. And that may or may not be something we want to look at.
I don't know that they would be full-time if they're working at the fuel dock. So that's something to keep in mind.
Right.
Seasonals, you're already kind of taking their summer away as they're employed with us during the best weather. They're always working weekends and holidays. So adding possible insult to injury of you're not going to necessarily be here 40 hours a week. And that one, it's really, once the summer really gets going, they're down there virtually all day. But like right now, they could be down there a half hour, or we had a boat calling yesterday wanting 1,500 gallons. That cell alone takes 2.5 to 3 hours. So it's really tough when you get that kind of mixed in for me to best ballpark it. I could try using 2024's data and the gallonage that was sold, kind of give an idea. But then again, you have some people that pump fuel full speed the whole time, and then you have some people that can only pump like a gallon and they have to stop to let it go down the filler tube before it spits back up in their face, and it takes 20 minutes to pump 10 gallons where it took me 20 minutes to pump 200. So keep that in mind.
I think that we're trying to like read people's minds a little bit and thinking, oh, they're going to come to Oak Harbor because the gas is cheap. And I don't know, I've never bought like 100 gallons of fuel or more. I know there's people doing that, and they're probably paying a lot more attention to the fuel prices. But I think people come here because this is where they want to go. And I don't think that we should, after adding up all of the taxes, the cost of the fuel, the cost of maintenance of the system to sell that fuel, I don't think we should be breaking even. I think the expectation that is very clear from the public right now is if we want to have a marina, it has to support itself, and it has to be profitable. So we should be adding up all of those costs and then a profit on top of it. And I doubt when we do that, we're going to come up with these numbers. And I doubt that we have some advantage over other marinas where we have found some magical way of selling fuel for less. I think that we're discounting what the service being provided, which is a remote-ish spot to stop for the night and get fuel. And I think we should be looking at the marina as a whole as like, yeah, adding up all these costs and adding profit on top of that so that we can cover things like a fuel line needing to be replaced, cover a breakwater being replaced. If we charge falling apart prices, we're going to have falling apart.
I'll definitely add to that, like the non-boat owner community. It's, hey, the rich people, let them deal with it. They pay for it, and if we're gonna sell a value, we gotta start somewhere.
Well, let's be clear. We're not losing money on fuel, right? We make
Not that I'm aware
we
of.
make money on fuel, you know, and it's. I spend a lot of time on my boat, and I spend a lot of time going various places, and I see a lot of things. People talk to me all the time. Wherever I am, people talk to me. The reason when we invite people to come to Oak Harbor, we meet them all the time on the docks and various places. Oh, they said, oh yeah, Oak Harbor, we go there when we need fuel. I said, do you stay? I said, no, we'll go to Langley, which floors me. I don't know why they would go to Langley, other than the fact they can walk up the hill and go to 24 restaurants. But nobody comes here just to come to Oak Harbor and look at the Angel or walk to Safeway. That's not why they come to Oak Harbor. If people are going to stop in Oak Harbor, they're stopping for fuel, getting a night's rest, and going on. That's it. So as long as we're not losing money on fuel, and I can't imagine we are, if we're adding 60 cents a gallon to what we pay for it, and you have to also remember that we pay less than the other communities for their fuel because we buy it at the state contracted fuel price. So we can, by our nature, afford to charge less fuel as an incentive, less for fuel as an incentive to get people to come here. Just my opinion.
What would you consider a maintenance cost that you would want to factor into a fuel price? Because would you want to do like that $80,000? So if you had an emergency line break or a pump that need to be replaced? I mean, if we want to move forward with possibly looking at adding these things, I just kind of like a number to play
I'm not
with.
sure we can put that number on it. I mean, I've been in the Marina 25 years. That's the first time that fuel line has failed. You know, or is it going to go another 25 years? You know, and none of us will have to worry about it. But I mean, we should make enough that we make a profit on the fuel. We cover the cost of the salary for whoever's working there, and we're also contributing to the enterprise fund. And we're certainly doing that today. And I think it leads me to one of Byron Scooby's comments that I'll get to in a bit, is we need to see a printout of the revenue and expenses for 2024. You know, it's June, and we haven't seen the calendar year 2024 yet, but we can get to that at a later time. Okay, is there any more I want to move on. Is there any more fuel pricing issues we want to talk about? Gabe, you good?
The information you added about that we're getting fuel at a cheaper price, that's valuable information.
You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I don't know where we would find that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought.
So
you knew.
us in Des Moines, being the only
only
two
two.
municipally owned marinas, can get state contract price for all of our fuel that we resell. So
So our cost is less than the other marinas.
it is significantly less normally, yes.
Okay, let's move on. Anacortes Boat Show update. I'm really excited to hear how this went. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I would have loved to have been there.
It's okay, it went well. Louis hung out with me all day Thursday. And then Barbara was there for part of the day, Friday and Saturday. Brian was there part of the day, Saturday. I got to answer the question, are you closing, quite a bit. Luckily, I was able to say no. I hope not, at least, because there goes my job. And a lot of people were looking for 50-foot slips, which kind of confirmed we know we need to reconfigure the marina to be able to accommodate larger boat slips, because people are not looking at the 30-footers as much. They're more looking in the 50-foot range, it seems like, on more of a regular basis. Did have 3 people get on a wait list for the 50-foot slips while we were there. Yeah, overall, it was just nice for people to see us there, because, you know, that rumor of you're closing was out there, and seeing us at a boat show kind of helped reconfirm that, oh, maybe they're not actually closing. So, and I can ask Louis, Barbara, or Brian if they want to add anything.
I'd say people were surprised, but there were other marinas there as well, so it was good to have a show, and everyone who stopped by wanted a bigger slip. Like if it was under 45 or something, like they walked on.
That's what you see everywhere around the Puget Sound right now. Everybody's gotten bigger and bigger boats, and they need a place to put them. So, okay, anything else? Let's move on to subcommittee updates. I haven't been here for a subcommittee meeting for a while, so I'll turn it over to whoever's briefing that.
Can you do it, or?
You can do it. I've got some things to add.
Okay.
Okay. So on Small Projects Committee, if y'all didn't know, there's a new sign. It's done and completed. We thought it'd be good to have everybody down to take a picture in front of it, maybe put it up, just so people can kind of see and know that something is happening. Sound like the dock carts are in a good situation. There's still more there. They're looking at potentially reinforcing them, but it seems the demand has been met for the time being. I'll let somebody else answer the power pedestals, which is near and dear to your heart. And we did talk a bit about pricing on the small boat storage, and we're kind of looking towards where the fence line's at, as kind of like what are those prices in comparative to what would be there. We also had the task to go out and kind of get pricing on the temporary fencing, which is in play right now. We anticipate getting something midweek from Diamond Rentals. They did not confirm whether they're city pricing or not, so that's also kind of, part of it.
For the small boat storage, I actually talked to somebody today. They had just moved their boat to Oak Harbor. It's a small catamaran on a trailer. And they moved from Anacortes, which on paper has better facilities. But what they told me is they actually prefer the ramp over the hoist that Anacortes has. So for actual keel boats, Anacortes has better facilities, but this was a sign that for small boats like catamarans, kayaks, things like that, our ramp, which is usually seen as substandard, it's too shallow, it's actually perfect for them. So that was really a shining moment of, there's people wanting to be here instead of other places. So
I'd call that a win.
yeah, yeah, and
That-
it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm
I was
just
just going to say
starting
that
to see it.
survey should be in when everybody receives their utility bill for the month of, let's see, I guess it would be when you get your statement at the end of June for July. That QR code is going to be in the little flyer that you receive with updates from the city, trying to get some additional responses as well.
Did you make that happen? Nice job.
Thank you. I got you.
Okay, we don't have anyone from the long-term project people, they're all gone, right?
You virtually got the long-term project update when we talked about the breakwater.
Gotcha, got it. Okay, now it's over to the new harbor master for her update.
I'll keep my updates fairly short and sweet. Brian mentioned the assistant harbor master position was posted on the 3rd. It's going to close on the 17th. And as of about 3 hours ago, we had 7 people already apply.
Good.
We have been working very hard to make sure the marina is floating, functional, and safe for everyone around. The staff has been doing a fantastic job. Seasonal's got some water line repair experience recently. We've had 2 water lines fail in the last 2 weeks. One of them, we got creative on how we repaired it because this is the 2nd or 3rd time it's failed in the last 2 years. And it goes underneath a finger on CDOC and it's grounding. So we decided to put flex hose in instead of hard PVC, trying to prevent the grounding out, getting stuck in the mud, and snapping of that PVC, that flex should have a little more ability to move around. It is in a 2-inch PVC sleeve to try to prevent any damage to the flex hose as well, but that was one where we tried to get a little creative. It was a little more expensive, but considering this is the second to third time that I remember fixing it in 7 years, we needed to try something different because what we were doing wasn't working. And the seasonals have also been going through and cleaning water lines and finding where we have J-hooks missing so that we can start resecuring utility lines throughout the marina, which will prevent further damage and be easier for us to maintain. We are virtually in the full swing of summer. That warm weather brought a lot of people out and about. We are seeing more people coming to sign up for summer slips. Within the next 2 weeks, I would say all 24-foot slips will be gone for the summer, and a good portion of our 28-foots as well. And the final dock cart rebuild is actually going into play this week. It's another large cart, and then we'll start unveiling the palette of brand new ones to see, as Louis mentioned, if we can reinforce them in any way, because they are plastic, not fiberglass. So we just want to see if there's any way we can help their longevity. We've had some staff out, but we should be hopefully full staff again this week, minus the backfilling of my previous position, which will be really nice. And I could not do the job I'm doing without all of them. And that's about all I've got for you today.
I'll just add, so you had a question about just the budget around fuel sales. So I just checked our year-to-dates. Currently, we're about 10,266 in the red. That's not surprising. Fuel sales are front-loaded in cost. We buy all the fuel and then we sell it over the summertime. So to give you an idea, last year at the end of the summer, we were 42,779 in the black. So that's about where our aim is, to get about 50,000 in net profit when all is said and done. It's about 189, almost $190,000 in revenue sales of gasoline that we have during the year.
How much fuel do you have in the tanks now, Elise?
When I left on Saturday, because I cannot answer for what they've sold the last 2 days off the top of my head, we had 7,500 gallons of diesel and about 8,500 gallons of gasoline. And we start looking to order when we hit about 3,000 gallons. The state contract fuel distributor did just change last month for us. So we are working out the kinks there. We were originally told they could not deliver on weekends or after hours, which was a little stressful for me for that first delivery, because we were right on the cusp of having to tell people we couldn't sell fuel. Luckily, we never got to that point. But I have since talked with someone who convinced their boss they can deliver on weekends and holidays. So I didn't ask anything different except, can you please? So we should be okay now. And like I said, we don't tend to look at deliveries till we get down to about 3,000 gallons.
Off the wall, did we ever make any money selling propane?
No.
We
We lost a lot of money with propane,
Okay.
actually.
I was just kind of curious.
And we were laughed at when we asked to start reselling propane. Just so, I was the one that had to make that phone call. They were a little traumatic, I'll be honest. Because we sold in a year, which was like 200 gallons or something, what most businesses sold in a month. And when I asked for a new setup to resell propane, literally every one of them, and I called Vander Yacht, Quarry Oil, tried to work with AmeriGas, and they would not replace the 40-year-old tank that was ready to go. And I talked to another company, and they all were like, no. That's cute, but no. And so I'm like, can we have like a manual pump? Like, I don't need the whole machinery. And they said, absolutely not. So
I was just kind of curious because propane has been an issue for an awful lot of marinas, and they've walked away from it in a big way.
yeah, and we weren't allowed to fill the composite tanks either, which are really popular in boating because technically they're supposed to be filled underwater. due to their sparking ability. At which point, the staff all was like, okay, noted.
Yeah, we're not doing
No
that.
composite tanks. So, yeah, that was something we learned through our annual trainings that we had received.
Cool. All right, let's move on. Now comes to the fun part, the Marina Advisory Commissioner's comments. Comments, gentlemen? Gentlemen? Grant, start with you. Louis?
I don't have any.
During our let's see, short-term project meeting, we talked about there's still misunderstanding in the public about the profitability of the marina. And obviously it needs a lot of financial investment to keep it going, but it's my understanding that the marina is profitable year over year, as long as you look at a long enough time span. So I really encourage marina staff and city council, I would like to see them look at a 5-year profit and loss for the marina and make some kind of proclamation saying the marina over 5 years profits this amount. What is that number? And just make it very clear and concrete so that we can move past that misunderstanding and start talking about solutions instead of just complaining that the marina loses money.
There is a lot of misunderstanding, and I don't know how to get it out. People will say, well, just get rid of it. And I'm like, and you're not really understanding what that takes. And I don't know really how to make them understand how important the marina is. We're still working on trying to figure out what we're going to be doing. And sorry, it's all hung up. That's the way it goes.
Okay, I had a long discussion with Commissioner Scooby before he left, and he asked me to bring up, and I know Elisa got the same message from Byron about certain things that he wanted to see, and as his commissioner comments, he is again advocating for a printout of the revenue and expenses for 2024. Hopefully, we can have that by next month. I don't exactly know when the books will be closed, Brian, but can you make sure, or at least ask?
I have a year-end report right in front of me. I'll email it to you right now.
Very good, thank you very much. And also, one of the important parts that Byron brought up in this is, if we're an advisory commission, we really need a vehicle by which we can either brief the mayor or the city council on things that are going on. Short of standing there and getting 3 minutes at a city council meeting. If we could create a vehicle by which we either get a few minutes with the council or a few minutes with the mayor where we can go over the things that are important to this commission, that would really help, I think.
Yeah, so we had a joint workshop with the Parks and Recreation Commission and Council at the last City Council workshop. And while it tended a little more on, the niceties and just kind of building that rapport and general topics, everyone felt like they walked away with that it was beneficial, that they had a good idea about vision and direction and kind of some feedback on the priorities that the commission had. I think everyone felt like having an annual sit down with council just to talk about maybe just a handful of priorities and make sure you're in line is good, as long as those are specific enough, that you have a good agenda of what you'd like to walk away from that discussion with. Another suggestion that I'd like to talk with the mayor and administration about, that I mentioned also with the Parks and Recreation Commission, was in other cities I've worked in, there was time allotted during the council meetings where each of the ex officios from council would report on the discussions and motions that were made during the commission meetings that they were involved with, what those topics were, to see if council wanted to bring any of those to a future agenda item, and then also allows them to get feedback from council and return a report to the commission off of what those discussions were on the things that they brought to council on your behalf. we'll leave it to council on what they want to spend their agenda on, but that would be a strong suggestion.
It's a great
that I would have for
suggestion.
them.
Yep. Barbara? You are the ex officio.
Yes, and I have brought up things, and I've met with them. I've met with them privately to talk about it.
But I agree,
And
I agree with,
hello, I might as well talk to them.
and I agree with Brian. There should be a more formal vehicle by which we can meet with the city council as a whole, or the mayor in his office, about certain things that need to take place.
I think if you guys come, it's different than me. And
Yeah, we
I think
agree.
you guys are the ones that have the boats. You're down there. You have the understanding. You know specifically what you've been doing and what you want. And, you know, I'm just trying to get the funding. But see, what's happened, if you don't realize this, since we can't dredge this year, obviously, what happened is they dropped the thing, well, probably next year. Well, the minute you put next year, then they're like, why should we bother putting the money in? See, we've been trying to get the money, and then they've been throwing everything else at, and I've been explaining explicitly, I don't know how else I can explain it. And what happened is the minute that came up, then they're like, well, we can wait. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work. So we're having the August meeting. It should be hot and heavy, so you should come.
Okay. Well, let me know if I'll be there.
Need a little something for that meeting.
Commissioner Scooby asked a few questions. Brian, you may be able to answer these. Has there been any discussion with the Port of Coupeville about whether they would consider expanding their boundaries? Is it something that is dead on arrival?
So the administration has reached out a couple times to Coupeville to schedule a meeting. They were denied a meeting, but then also heard from some of our commissioners, no, we would like to meet. Coupeville is, we're trying to get some kind of an organized response from them on it, so they are working towards that. That's about as much information as I have right now. I check in pretty regularly on the status of that, so we'll continue to do so.
Okay. Thanks, Brian. I think the last thing Byron was very concerned about is he was here during that minus 4.0 or 4.1 or whatever it was. I've never seen minus 4 in the marina. I imagine it might have been pretty eye-opening to see.
I can share the photos that
Yeah.
I sent to Bill if you would like to
I
see
would
them.
I would love to see them, or maybe I don't want to see them, quite frankly, because if I would have been here, my boat would have been just stuck in the mud down there at the end of my slip. But I think it's important, though, that we advertise that somehow, so people need to see. I know it's important that we get the. But if this Barbara says the city council is going to be out of town, the mayor's going to be out of town, I think it's important a lot of people see what we're dealing with. And I did notice that in the Woodby News Times, when they had the article about the B&O tax, they chose a picture of the marina at an extremely low tide. I don't know if people picked up on that it showed how we are in a basin. We are surrounded by mud, and we are in a basin. And at 3.7 or 3.8, whatever it's going to be, it's even really, really exaggerated. So I think if we, I don't know, maybe too late to get a thing in the Woodby News Times about another series of low tides is coming up to show how important it is to the marina that it get dredged. If we had a sympathetic year, maybe that might be something good.
The youth sailing summer camps are going to start that week, and I could probably get a picture of like a sad child in their boat in the mud.
That would be
I don't
fantastic.
know. I don't know if that would be a good sympathizer.
That would be fantastic.
That's a great one.
That would really be good.
I'll work on that.
Okay. All right. The last thing I have is for Brian. Are we going to get any more commissioners?
Checked in on that update. I checked in on that last Friday, and we will be getting 2 new commissioners recommended to the city council on July 1.
On July 1. Okay.
So we should, in theory, have 2 new commissioners for the July meeting.
Is this a council issue, or I thought this was just appointed by the mayor?
He's taking that to council on July 1.
Okay,
Because there's multiple commissions that have vacancies, and I believe he's making the announcement for all of them at the same time.
okay. Right, I understand that, yeah. I'm glad you interviewed. And the last thing I would bring up, and it probably will fall on deaf ears, is the fact that, do we have any non-customer applicants for this board?
No, not that I know of. I'm trying. I reached out to the Dragon Boat because if they are a paddler, not like president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, they could be part of this board as a city limits or like city resident non-customer, but still would kind of be a Marina user.
Did you get any response?
They knew of maybe one person who lived in the city limits that was not a Marina customer, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I have been trying to also go down the main pier there and all of the signage that we have that people don't pay for to advertise, trying to figure out which one of those we could possibly put on the board.
Well, what would we need to change that to a customer vice a non-customer?
You'd have to change the ordinance.
Yeah, I don't see 30% of this board being non-customers. I think that's. it
I'll be
doesn't-
honest, I was
even a
shot down
non-customer
pretty
said
hard.
that. Yeah, even a non-customer like Louis here says 30% of this board shouldn't be non-customers. I understand why it was done. There was going to be initiatives from the city that would appeal to everyone, not just marina tenants and storage tenants and all that. But we've yet to see those. And we're ignoring qualified people who can help this commission, who have applied in good faith for these positions. And I'd hate to see not grabbing one just because, we have the ordinance says it has to be a non-customer. We need people with marina expertise and people who are around and travel and see the different things, and so we can bring back ideas and innovative thought to this commission. So I'll do a little research on that too. So does anybody have anything else? Oh, by the way, are you at all concerned about the fact that we're down to 74% occupancy or whatever it was?
Yes,
Okay, that was the right answer.
of course I'm worried about it.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have anything else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Seconded?